Good morning, Tosan, Sawadee Selamat pagi. Thank you for joining this online session with Ingram Micro and Enterprise DB. My name is Francis Chu. I'm the VP for ASEAN Hong Kong and also the head of the vendor management for APAC. Thank you very much for joining. In the midst of the pandemic, I hope all of us are keeping safe and warm. But the pandemic has also highlighted a couple of key issues or challenges and opportunities in our business. What is you see very quickly is that companies, organization, government need all to be very, very resilient. And those resilience are basically driven by the need for financial resilience and operational resilience. And that resiliency is actually compounded or challenged because of the need to work from home, remote monitoring, the world moving to a world of cloud and hybrid cloud, new technologies being introduced, driven by IoT, driven by the need to get into 5G. All these are driving tremendous amount of need for data. But what is extremely important is all this stuff all need to have a technology resiliency that can support now and in the future. So if you look at it today, regulatory requirements, compliances, complex new geopolitics situation, and in the countries that we operate today, whereby Asia is starting to become, ASEAN and Hong Kong will probably be the third or fourth biggest economy in the next 10 years. There is tremendous amount of growth, but there is also tremendous amount of activity to survive and to thrive. And everybody is trying to get into the new norm. So what Ingram believes is adapting and adopting technology by the people who make it and the people who sell it. So where we are looking at is the world of moving into containerization and the whole ecosystem of open source. We are very privileged, we're very glad, and we are very honored to be signed out by Enterprise DB as the value-add distributor for ASEAN Hong Kong. And I'm very, very honored, and we have a whole host of executives who are we are very grateful to grace this occasion. Let me just walk through very quickly the agenda. Okay, I've done my part, and I will not introduce the CEO or EDB at Boyan Jian. Then after that, we will continue out with all the necessary details of technology, which I probably will not be able to articulate better than all these gentlemen here. Without further ado, I'm very honored, I'm very privileged to welcome the CEO of EDB, Ed Borojian. Ed, over to you, Ed.
Great, thank you, Francis. And it's my great pleasure to be here, and to all our new partners and colleagues in the region. I'll echo your sentiment, and I hope you're staying healthy and safe. It's really a remarkable time in the market, and I think, Francis, you articulated so much of what we see happening here at EDB and in the Postgres world. Let me just give you a quick minute on my background. I've been working with open source technologies now for almost 20 years. And the first 7 of those years I spent at Red Hat, where I led the global OEM business and spent much of my time in the Asia Pacific region, working with partners there, and then running the North America business. And for the past almost 13 years, I've been here at EDB as the CEO of EDB. And I can tell you, in my tenure in open source, I would say that since Linux, there has never been a more powerful transformational technology in open source than Postgres. And if you look carefully at Postgres as a database technology, you start to uncover some of the attributes that have made it so successful. You know, at EDB, I look at us as leaders in that development, and so we aren't just participants and beneficiaries of that project's success, but we're also significant contributors to what Postgres is and what it will be. And I think one of the reasons that Postgres, like Linux, has become so strong and so powerful starts with obviously the technology, but that is built on an independent open source project foundation. And if you look around the landscape of other open source database technologies, you'll often see many that are truly captive to individual companies. Postgres isn't like that. Postgres is contributed to by thousands of people around the world. And I think that inherently is what gives Postgres its strength. And so one of the questions that I often get asked is, so what's special about EDB? How do we distinguish ourselves if Postgres is so prolific and so popular? How are we distinguishing ourselves as a company to help customers with their Postgres adoption? And I think really there's a kind of an important concept in here. We view the work we do at EDB as supercharging Postgres. And that's really bringing energy, not just to the technology, but also to the project. And our customers turn to us for help because of that work that we do. And we look at the things we do. Think about the supercharged Postgres as kind of having at least three attributes. One is, at our core, we are a database technology company. And so we provide technical leadership and innovation in and around the Postgres communities. We have the most prolific team of core Postgres developers and contributors in the market and in the world. And because of that, we occupy, I think, a very important position in the eyes of our customers in terms of driving Postgres support and help. I think the second thing we do to supercharge Postgres is that we bring together technologies around the database server that help our customers deploy Postgres in their environments at scale and provide them a full solution of capabilities. And that includes, of course, the database server, but it goes beyond that to address the topics they deal with when deploying Postgres around management, around high availability, around migration, and around integration. Each one of those areas are areas where EDB has built tools and capabilities, technology capabilities to support the database success across a wide range of deployment needs. And I think the third way that we supercharge Postgres is we provide a centerpiece and a powerful voice of advocacy, of expertise, and of awareness for what Postgres can do for enterprises. You know, the project, the community project, is less focused on that advocacy in the eyes of C-suite executives, where EDB focuses. And I think bringing this kind of industry brand awareness to Postgres and then to EDB, and in turn to the capabilities that you bring to the table, is a really important part of how we add power to Postgres. And so one of the things that we're going to talk to you about is a little bit about what we can do and what's ahead. But let me tell you what's behind you in our new partnership together. I mean, first is 17 years of experience with Postgres. The company was founded in 2004, and so we bring an extraordinary amount of depth and talent in Postgres specifically. But alongside that, we've developed an extraordinary customer base. We have over 5,000 customers worldwide. It would be interesting to note that the second strongest market for EDB is the Asia Pacific market. So unlike many software companies in the United States, about half of our business comes from the North America market, but a third of it, and our fastest growing market, is in Asia Pacific. And as a result of that customer base, we have 1 in 4 of the Fortune 500 are EDB Postgres customers. We have over 300 of the Global 2000 and some name brands in the region that you'll be proud to share as you bring Postgres to market. Alongside that, there are a number of references that we bring to help support that work. The other thing that's behind you is truly an industry-leading technical team with Postgres. We contribute the majority of our contributions into the community. About 27% in the last release of the Postgres database came from EDB technologists. We have over 300 Postgres technologists in the company. 26 of those are significant contributors directly to the Postgres project, the most of any company in the world. And I think the last thing that we bring and put behind you is the know-how, the best practices, and the expertise to help you address the varied needs that you'll experience with your customers. And you put these things together, and I think that's one of the reasons EDB has become the prominent leader in Postgres and what makes this opportunity so important to us. So we are delighted to be working together with Ingram Micro, Francis and team, and look forward to a very successful and productive future together. To get into some of those details, I'd like to introduce Sean Dolan, who's our worldwide Chief Revenue Officer, and Graham Pullen, who is our Senior VP of the Asia Pacific region. Sean? I think you're muted, Sean.
Okay, sorry about the little technical difficulties here. Ed, thanks very much. And unlike Ed, who spent a tremendous amount of time in open source, I'm new to open source. I've been with EDB for about a month. What I'm not new to is the technology industry as a whole. I've spent 30 years in the technology industry, and I've been in the product side, the software side. I've run services organization. I've done that in Asia, I've done it in Europe, and I've done that in the Americas. But I will tell you, I'm really excited about joining EDB for all the reasons that Ed talked about. I just think there is such a push from a market in terms of the importance behind open source and specifically in the database marketplace. And I think EDB, with its history, really on the technical side, the credentials, I really think that I've seen the value that we can create in the marketplace is tremendous. So for me, I think what I'll say to you is I'm very, very much committed to the partnership that we could have. I've had a lot of experience working with Ingram when I was with Alcatel-Lucent, now Nokia, in Asia, where I spent 6 years. I worked with you as an organization, the Ingram organization, and the partners. When I was in EMEA, I worked with Ingram again at Juniper Technologies, and I really value the partnership that we can develop with the Ingram teams. In order for us to be successful in Asia, there's no doubt, given the level of diversity, we really have to rely and figure out how to partner successfully with the Ingram family. And so for me, I really will tell you that I focus on the win-win type of relationships where the value that we can bring can complement the services that you guys bring to deliver value to the customer. So what you'll get from me is an understanding of the marketplace, the importance that we place on it. As Ed said, it's the fastest growing for us, and it's a big percentage of our overall revenue. Traditionally, I would say from a technology perspective, you find that Asia might trail what's going on in North America, but as it pertains to embracing and growing and going after open source, I actually think Asia is leading in many ways this wave in terms of open source. And so we're excited about the partnership as a whole, and I'm very, very committed to it. If you think about why, and I'm sitting in your seat, why you guys have a lot of different vendors that you can work with, why partner with EDB as a new company? You know, first and foremost, I would say it's probably the same reasons why I'm excited that I made the decision to join the EDB family. It's an expanding market, and it's really tough to be successful when you're fighting a market that's kind of the winds are blowing at you. It's an expanding market where people are committed to it, people are excited about it. So that's number one. You can kind of grow with the market itself. Number two is you're joining and partnering with a company at EDB that has a proven track record. You know, for the last 3 years, we've been extremely successful in growing at 35% plus in a market. So I think you'll find someone that's really, really strong and has the foundation and the critical mass to help us be successful from a growth standpoint. I think you look when you dig into the portfolio, just not about the people, but the portfolio, whether it be on the services side or whether it be on the software side, you'll find that it's a value-based portfolio that can drive value to the customers that you're working with. You'll find that you have a very progressive and experienced management team. And it's a team that really understands the value of the partnerships that they drive from the channel. So from me, you know, I definitely respect it. I'm excited about it. My biggest disappointment is that we're not face to face. but I understand the region. I understand the importance behind it, and I really value what the channel can bring as a way to get to market with our customers. So I'm certainly looking to develop win-win relationship with Graham and the organization as a whole. So with that, Graham, I know you've had some technical difficulties joining. I know you're voice only. Do you want to try to step through the presentation, or would you like me to help?
Yes, Sean, you can hear me okay?
A little bit louder would be better.
Okay, I'll hold my phone up closer to my mouth. Thank you, Sean. Is that okay? Is the volume about right?
That's perfect.
Okay, no worries. Violet, I understand you're going to help step through some slides. Could you move to slide 5, which really is where I'd love to start? Obviously the introduction from Sean. My name is Graham Pullen. I'm the Regional Vice President for Asia Pacific and Japan. And I would also mirror both Ed and Sean's message that we are fortunate enough to work in the fastest growing piece of the business, which shows the clients that we represent and serve are interested in what we have to sell. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some examples of that. You should be looking at the why Postgres and why now. Most people would know Postgres, or typically from the discussions I have with the CXOs, that from a relational perspective, it's the best. It's the single point of truth, and therefore it fits very, very nicely with the more traditional database requirements, but different price points and much more scalable as to what is included within the tooling and the subscriptions, which I know Mark is going to run through. But if you look at the other two pieces, the systems of analysis, I suspect, given the organizations on the call today, you're having discussions with your clients about analytics, data warehousing, new technologies of data warehousing, business intelligence. It may be surprising to know that nearly 70% of EDB's customers, when they were surveyed, highlighted that what they were using as well, our database for, was a lot of their new analytics. So I'll walk you through an example with IAG, one of the new breed of data warehousing that was put together with EDB. And similarly, there is the third stretch, which is the systems of engagement, the IoT, the web technologies. We are being used, Postgres is being used a lot to help the customers solve a lot of those very large customer experience problems for them as well. So we typically fall into 3 large drivers. This is where I have the discussions I have with my CXOs. Clearly, we are an option for organizations now to consider what we would call large-scale migrations. Typically, that's from Oracle, if I have to say it, but it's not limited. But Oracle, it seems to be the price point and pain point for a lot of organizations, that they're looking for EDB and its partners to help solve that problem. How do we get off to a more modernized, more refreshed kind of database environment? So that's one of the top drivers. The second one, of course, is as a new onboarding platform for just building out new applications rapidly. We were working with DHL on a number of these environments. That's why they were looking at Postgres to coming and underpin a lot of these very new mobile applications as well that they were developing. And third, of course, is a lot of them are looking to re-platform in their transformational journeys. They're re-platforming to a more containerized microservice and cloud deployment. Can you move to the next slide, please, Violet? Now here you should see, again, a little bit of the 3 key drivers that I just mentioned around the database replatforming anyways, but I think it might be useful to see some of the companies that have been showcased in these were their business problems. And Samsung Electronics, obviously one of our premium customers in Korea. They are migrating off of Oracle every day of the week. When we first spoke to Samsung 3 years ago, they had an EBIT through their procurement people that they had to reduce a $70 million maintenance bill from Oracle by 30%. And they're using EDB and our assessment capabilities that we provide around assessing the schemas that are already running with Oracle, and being able to migrate them with our tools and our software easily over to Postgres. And that journey began 3 years ago, and they are consistently moving new applications off of Oracle, and of course, as I said before, building their new ones on Postgres. On the replatforming, IAG is a very large insurance group in Australia. When we spoke to IAG, they had an enormous problem that most large insurance groups have. That is, they had acquired many insurance companies in their group, and each one of those insurance companies, of course, did different kinds of insurance. They held different kinds of information about their customers, and they could not upsell, cross-sell across those because they were all siloed. So they decided to build what they called was the Enterprise Data Hub project, which was a very modernized data warehouse, if you like, very well distributed. The idea was to collapse over 150 disparate databases into a single point of truth where they could start to slice and dice and do some very creative things. And EDB and Postgres was chosen as that point of truth at the very heart of the Enterprise Data Hub. And the last one, I'll just talk very quickly about a new app development. United Energy, very big energy, obviously electricity from Australia's perspective. They were used in the new smart meters that obviously are in everybody's house these days, as you either build or you renovate, or they have come along and put those meters in. So they are taking all of that meterage information now from those smart meters, and they decided that Postgres was the database because of our GIS capabilities, the more spatial way that they wanted to look at that very large amount of data. Next slide, please, Violet. And again, a lot of these clients and C-level people in the organization I talk want to know that they are going to be looking at the same database across whichever deployment that they really want to put them in. And whilst a lot still have on-premise, I'm sure we all know that these organizations are looking at different database as a service capabilities. They're looking at driving into the private or public or hybrid cloud, and you can guarantee with Postgres they get that same database everywhere. Next slide, please. Well, this is always good to know when you are forming new partnerships that the clients that have adopted that technology have a good profile, and I think this is a global snapshot. I will share a local one with you next, but I think you can safely say that we're in good company. The great thing I think about our client base is the diversity of it, which means that we're not only of interest to a banking and finance organization or a telecommunication organization. You can see from this slide that there is there's an awful lot of big brand organizations, but they represent what's going on in the world today, where there is a lot of the replatforming, be it infrastructure or be it digitally driven. These are organizations that have already began those journeys and are referenceable in many cases for you and your clients. Next slide, please, Violet. And my last slide really is to just highlight that we have over 500 clients in what I called Asia Pacific and Japan, and many of them are in Southeast Asia. They represent, again, a very nicely distributed and diverse group of organizations. But I can assure you, whether they be DBS around their core banking applications, Telstra on their new 5G deployments, OCBC on their new and emerging microservices and container-based technologies, there'll be many stories that we would love to share with you, and I'm sure many of these will map very nicely, if not already be customers of your own. So I personally look forward to the opportunity of engaging with each of your organizations, and I am looking forward to working with Francis and Ingram as we start to get deeper into this relationship. And I'll hand over to Mark. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Graham. So, Violet, take us to the next slide entitled EDB Portfolio, please. So, what we're seeing on here is the portfolio of products and services that Enterprise DB offers. So we start obviously on the top, as Ed said, with Postgres, and then we have two versions of Postgres, PostgreSQL, the open source version of the database, and then EDB Postgres Advanced Server. And then we'll dive into that a little bit more on one of the next slides, where really we're going to see that EDB Postgres Advanced Server is the Oracle compatible version, so the version of Postgres that Graham just referred to in many of his examples, the version that customers use to replace Oracle in production. But we don't just provide the database, we also provide the tools to make sure that the installation is highly available, just like what customers are used to from Oracle, that it can be managed at scale. Again, the same effect that customers have with Oracle, SQL Server, or DB2. And then integration tools to make sure that the database is actually connected to the rest of the enterprise. And then migration tools. Again, Graham emphasized many examples where customers are actively migrating from existing legacy implementations to Postgres. So two versions of the database, one of them being Oracle compatible, and then all the tools needed to manage with high reliability in the enterprise, and to do that at scale. Obviously, as was said at the very beginning, we support Kubernetes and containers, but also virtualization, so conventional deployments in private cloud or in public cloud. All of that comes with 24/7 Postgres technical support, DBA services, both in the cloud and on-premise, and then capabilities for technical account management, and all the other services that you're expected or that your customers are expecting from a database vendor. So let me just go forward here, Violet, to the next slide, Postgres Award. So Postgres was awarded Database Management System of the Year again for 2020. So there's a dbengines.com website that carefully tracks the search behavior on the internet to find out which software is the most popular. And for 3 years now, DB Engines has awarded Postgres the Database of the Year, 2017, 2018, and again in 2020. That same information was validated by surveys that Stack Overflow has done with developers that have declared Postgres the #2 most used database and the #2 most loved database. So Postgres is really winning a very, very large market. I mean, the database market today is a $40 billion market. 70% of that is going to move to open source. We all know that. And the big asset for Postgres is that it runs everywhere. It runs on every cloud. It runs on AWS, on Azure, on Google, on Alibaba, on KT's cloud. It runs everywhere. And that's really what makes it the fastest growing database management system available today, and the most loved one. And that's why this partnership is so particularly interesting right now, where Postgres is growing so fast in the market that is rapidly moving to open source. So Violet, if we move forward to the slide entitled EDB Postgres Advanced Server, I want to emphasize that a little bit here. I'm not going to go into great detail, but it's important that you understand the asset that you have with EDB Postgres Advanced Server. It builds on Postgres. It includes all the capabilities of Postgres, but it has enhanced Postgres with Oracle compatibility, tools for better DBA productivity, developer productivity, performance, and very, very important, enhanced security. So again, customers coming from Oracle or SQL Server will expect all of these capabilities to be available. With EDB Postgres Advanced Server, that migration from a legacy system to Postgres becomes much, much easier. So if we go forward, Violet, to the slide entitled Postgres Enterprise Manager, this is the first of the tools that I talked about. Right? I mentioned that we have two versions of the database, Postgres, the open source version, and Postgres Advanced Server, supported by tools for high availability, monitoring and management, integration, and migration. Postgres Enterprise Manager is one of the key tools to allow you and your customers to deploy Postgres at scale in their enterprise. Postgres Advanced Enterprise Manager plays the same role that Oracle Enterprise Manager plays in these deployments to make deployment at scale more accessible. That is a tool that comes with the standard package from Enterprise DB. If we go forward to Backup and Recovery Tool, Backup and Recovery Tool is another environment or another capability that customers expect. With Oracle, it's called RMAN. With EDB, it's called Backup and Recovery Tool, and it provides the same capabilities to make sure you're protected against disaster, or your customers are protected against disaster and can recover quickly. If we go forward to the slide entitled Failover Manager, this is the tool that allows you to deploy Postgres and Postgres Advanced Server with extremely high availability. Again, that is a capability that your customers will expect when they come from SQL Server or from Oracle or DB2, that the database is highly available. That's an absolute requirement if you want to get into markets that are mission critical. And Postgres is absolutely ready to do that today, especially when supported by the kind of tools that you get from Enterprise DB. And then we'll go to the last tool, which is called Replication Server. Replication Server is the integration tool, because that's important, because databases don't stand alone in the enterprise. Every enterprise will, at least for a while, have some SQL Server, some MySQL, some Oracle. Well, with EDB Replication Server, which again is part of the standard package, you will be able to tie Postgres into the rest of your customer's environment, which is very important because nobody wants to have data islands. So all these tools that Enterprise DB provides as part of this offering allow you and your customers to deploy Postgres at scale in an extremely reliable way inside their enterprise. The last thing I want to emphasize is the security enhancement features. Security is an extremely important aspect. So we've added things to Postgres Advanced Server that provide password policy management, audit compliance for SOX compliance, code protection, a SQL firewall, data redaction so that you can handle proprietary data more reliably, and then things like virtual private database, which for those of you that also work with Oracle know is a key Oracle capability. And let me just go back to the password policy management. That's a feature that allows you to define in the database the complexity of passwords, their reuse, their length, how often a user can try to log in before the account gets locked, etc. So these are key capabilities that your customers will expect from a production or an enterprise-ready database, and EDB Postgres Advanced Server provides all of these. So, Violet, let's go forward to the last slide of mine, entitled EDB Portfolio. Just as a reminder, we are the Postgres company. We will help you and your customers be successful with Postgres. We do that with two versions of Postgres, the standard version, which is Postgres open source version, and then Postgres Advanced Server with Oracle compatibility and significantly enhanced security capabilities. All of that is supported by a robust set of tools that allow your customers to deploy Postgres at scale, extremely reliably, and very well integrated in their enterprise. We support containers, private cloud, public cloud, virtualized deployments, and bare metal deployments. Our customers today use all of these techniques to get the most value out of Postgres in their environment. We support that with 24/7 support, with a very, very high and very stringent service level agreement, with DBA services on-premise and in the cloud, and also technical account management, and then all the professional services that are required for a successful deployment. So at this point, thank you very much for listening to the EDB portfolio. I will now turn it over to Mike Cofield. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks for going through the portfolio at a high level. I appreciate that. First of all, thanks to our audience for attending. Appreciate you taking time out of the middle part of your day to spend with EDB and Ingram Micro to hear what kind of company EDB is, what type of capabilities we have, and certainly how we might be able to help you grow your business. One of the things I just wanted to touch on was, we were very careful about who we chose to partner with in Southeast Asia from a distribution standpoint. And I'm very excited about our partnership with Ingram Micro and believe they're going to help us along with you in growing our business in the region. We're excited about it and look forward to working with all of you. Next slide, please. One of the things I wanted to touch on is we call our program Global Connect. The reason we do that is we truly are engaged with our partners. We build tools and provide resources in order to help you grow your business, your practice around Postgres, working together with us in Ingram. It's important for us to find and develop partners that are going to commit to driving our business and invest in us like we're going to invest in you. So we believe the benefits you'll get from us will only continue to grow as we grow our business together. Next slide. Some of the reasons I'd certainly look to from why partnering with us is much of which has been covered, by Ed and Sean and Graham and Mark, but our market leadership and innovation. It's incredibly something we're very proud of. We've had significant progress in the Postgres space. We're obviously a leading global provider. I think Ed touched on the number of customers we have. I'll add that 26+% of these are Fortune 500 companies. So we continue to grow not only within corporations, but within large corporations. And then we also expand our business significantly once we're in an account. And then we've also touched on our community leadership within the Postgres community. We want to give you, our partners, the ability to grow both from a profitability standpoint and opportunities. We continue to have consecutive growth within our quarters. We just finished our 44th consecutive quarter of growth. Our business continues to evolve, get better, and expand in not only on our existing accounts, but certainly within each of our regions. We have a very strong presence, as Ed touched on, in Southeast Asia, and we want to continue to grow them. The third reason I touch on is our partner ecosystem. One of the things we don't do, quite frankly, is just partner with anyone that comes along. It's important for us to choose the right partners, choose the ones that we believe are going to be successful, and that we believe we can help them be successful. Because if you're not being successful, it's not going to work for either one of us, quite frankly. So we provide tools and resources I mentioned. We talk about and provide marketing solutions, build marketing programs to help drive your pipeline. And we provide a significant support team that has, extensive Postgres experience to help you. So we believe there's a lot of reasons beyond just these three to partner with us. Next slide, please. And again, from a focus from our channel, it's with your profitability in mind. We look at how do we get engaged in specific accounts. We want to work with you. We want to identify opportunities together and grow our footprint in accounts. We want to enable you in order to be successful in those accounts. So we provide training and certifications and implementation training. We do these on a regular basis and on a quarterly basis as well, so that you have information that will be the latest and greatest as to where we're taking our business. We talk also about roadmaps and directions so that you have an understanding of where the company's headed. We collaborate on not only opportunities, but creating more opportunities. We make sure you have access to our professional services team, as well as our marketing organization, in order to help you do that. And then we evaluate. We want to make sure that we're building the business together. So we look at, how many new logos are we driving? What's our revenue? We look at how many, who's doing what in particular opportunities. We want to make sure that we're providing you the capabilities to be successful and help drive opportunities. And we also give you accreditation for that. Next slide. So that just kind of leads me to, we reward our partners based on your involvement and cooperation in a particular transactions. So on new subscriptions, as an example, it's based on how much you're engaged with our customers. How much business are you able to drive? How much are you bringing to us, but also how much are you selling in those? And we're very generous, we believe, with the discounting process that we go through. We also want you to be involved in the renewals and the expansion of existing accounts. Those are critical to not only us, but you, and how we're going to grow the business within accounts from the first time we enter there. We don't want you just to close a deal at a specific account and go on to the next. We want to grow those accounts. The hardest deal to close is the first one. After that, we believe we've got a great opportunity to grow it. We want to give you the support capabilities that you might need in order to drive solutions. Obviously, services is, I'm sure, a big piece of all of your business. It is for us as well. So we want to make sure that you're properly trained and capable as well. And we want to help you from a consulting perspective. We want to give you the ability to resell our consulting if that's something you want to do. So we give you a lot of ways to engage, and we believe that we give you a lot of ways to be successful. Next slide. We also give you access to our support portal. This is a way for you guys to really understand the products, the capabilities of the products, how to work with the products, how to implement the products, and so forth. And then through Ingram, we also provide a lot of material on our partner portal that is tied around technical documentation, sales enablement, marketing programs that we might be rolling out, spiffs, and things like that. We also want to make sure that you have access to customer use cases and references. It gives you an idea of the kinds of things we're doing in customer accounts that are being successful. I'll also touch on the fact that, the majority of our business in the region goes through partners or we work with partners to the tune of 90+% of our business is tied to partners in the region. So it's incredibly important for us to make sure that you're successful and can drive the business that we're looking to drive together. Next slide. So just, you know, I put this up here so that you had access to the key players in the region. You know, I run the business from a global perspective, but, you know, under normal times, unfortunately, we have to do this over the phone or over the website here. But, you know, it's a great way for us to engage. But, you know, in normal times, as I said, I'm in the region multiple times in a year, and I want to be face-to-face with you. So I look forward to doing that. So you have my email address there. I'm happy to work with you this way. Frank is responsible for the regional sales organization in Southeast Asia and Hong Kong. And Vivek Kumar reports into me and handles the region from our channels perspective. So we look forward to connecting, and I appreciate, again, you taking the time to support us and come out and listen to what we had to say today. So thank you. Francis?
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you all partners. I appreciate the time spent. We look forward to working closely both with EDB, the ecosystem, and all our partners. With that, we will be finishing this session. Thank you. Please stay safe, all of you, and looking forward to visiting all your countries and working together. Thank you. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Thanks. Bye. Bye-bye.